let's just start with this. Take a look at these two dates. In the year 14, the very first Roman emperor, Augustus, dies. Now fast forward exactly 800 years. In the year 814, Charlemagne, the guy who basically reunited Europe, also dies. I mean, what are the odds? Is that just a crazy coincidence, or could it be the first clue that something bigger is going on? So that number, 800, according to the source material we're looking at today, that number is the key to everything. It's not just a coincidence. The argument is that it's the foundational beat, the rhythm of a huge historical cycle, like a hidden framework that our timeline is built on. And at the very center of this whole theory, you've got four of the heaviest hitters in European history. The source we're digging into argues that their lives aren't just similar, they're mathematically linked across centuries. It's pretty mind-bending. Let's meet the players, starting with... First up, you've got Julius Caesar. I mean, who doesn't know Caesar? The legendary general who basically brought the Roman Republic to a close and set the stage for the empire. He's a giant of the ancient world, and he is pillar number one in this pattern. And then, of course, you have his heir, Augustus. He becomes the very first Roman emperor. He's the one who kicks off the Pax Romana, that famous long period of peace. So naturally, he's our second key player in this whole puzzle. Okay, now we're going to jump forward in time, a big jump, 800 years to be exact, and we land on Charlemagne. This is the man who basically created a new Western Roman Empire, pulling most of Europe together. And get this, his coronation was in the year 800. That's a huge turning point, and maybe, just maybe, another clue about this cycle. And to round out our group of four, we have the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. We're talking about a guy who ruled a global empire so vast they said the sun never set on it. He was also the last emperor to be crowned by a pope, which makes him the perfect fourth pillar for our structure. All right, so we've got our four emperors, Caesar, Augustus, Charlemagne, and Charles V. But the theory here says the connections are way, way deeper than just that one matching death date we started with. The source lays out this whole web of interconnected timelines, all dancing to the rhythm of that 800-year cycle. Let's take a look at how this pattern actually starts to form. Check this out. The first big link connects the very first guy, Caesar, with the very last guy, Charles V. So Charles V was born in 1500 AD. That is exactly 1600 years, or two 800-year cycles, after Caesar was born. But it gets even crazier. Charles V gives up his throne in 1556, which is, you guessed it, exactly 1600 years after Caesar was assassinated. That's really specific. And the pattern just keeps going, this time between Augustus and Charlemagne. So in 32 BC, Octavian, who would become Augustus, calls himself leader of Italy. Flash forward 800 years on the dot to 768 AD, and Charlemagne becomes king of the Franks. Okay, wait, there's more. 5 years later, in 27 BC, Octavian gets the title Augustus. And, you see where this is going, exactly 800 years after that, in 773 AD, Charlemagne is called to Italy to bring peace. I mean, the echoes here are just undeniable. So here's the whole thing laid out visually by the source. You can see it clearly. Caesar connects to Charles V with that double cycle, 1600 years. And Augustus connects to Charlemagne with the single 800-year cycle. But what about that dashed line? Well, that's where this theory really starts to get wild. And this really brings us to the heart of the whole thing, right? Are we just looking at a bunch of amazing coincidences? You know, maybe later writers were just modeling their stories on the ancient classics. Or is this something else? The source we're examining suggests this is evidence of something far more deliberate. A history that wasn't just recorded, but was actually built. And yeah, the source does not mince words here. The argument is that when you find patterns this clean, this consistent, you've moved past just observing history. It literally says, quote, "The line between historiography and pure fiction is crossed." I mean, think about that. That's a huge claim to make against everything we think we know about our past. Okay, for this next piece of the puzzle to make sense, we need a quick primer on calendars. We all use Anno Domini, or AD, right? In the year of the Lord. But the Romans had another system they used a lot. Ab Urbe Condita, or AUC. It just means from the founding of the city of Rome. This little detail is absolutely critical for what comes next. So remember how Charles V was born in 1500 AD? Well, the source points out something incredible. One of the most common birth years cited for Charlemagne is 747 AD. And if you convert 747 AD into that old Roman calendar, it becomes the year 1500 AUC. So you have two of these mega important emperors born in the same year, 1500, just using two different calendars. That is really clever. But wait, you might say, historians aren't even sure about Charlemagne's birth year. Was it 737 or 747? And this is where the theory gets even more interesting. The source claims that's not a flaw in the theory. It's part of the design. See, the year 737 gives you a perfect 800-year gap back to Augustus's birth, and the year 747 gives you that perfect 1500 AUC alignment with Charles V. It's like the dates were fudged just enough so that both patterns would click into place. Convenient, right? So, if this is all true, if history was actually built with this kind of insane detail, it leads you to a pretty big question, doesn't it? Who did it? Who were the architects of time? Who could possibly have the knowledge, the power, and the reason to create such a complicated puzzle?
Well, the source points a finger directly at this guy, Joseph Justus Scaliger. He was a scholar back in the 16th century, and he's basically considered the father of modern historical chronology. His job, his whole project, was to take all the chaotic events of the ancient world and put them into one neat, tidy timeline. And here's another one of those coincidences for you. His father, whose name was, I'm not kidding, Julius Caesar Scaliger, died in 1558, the exact same year as Emperor Charles V.
Okay, let's just recap for a second. We have these super precise 800 and 1600-year cycles. We have birth years that line up perfectly if you just switch calendars. We have debated dates that, funny enough, actually make the patterns stronger. The conclusion from the source is pretty blunt. This is just too much to be random chance. It's not a coincidence. It's a design.